What will Russia have to give up? What concessions will Russia, the aggressor, have to make as a part of this peace agreement?
Chances are he's not going to answer the question.
Well, that's what these negotiations are about. And as you can imagine, everybody goes into a negotiation wanting 100% of what they want. That includes Ukraine, but obviously the Russians. And the only way to reach a deal on anything, whether it's in business or in politics or in geopolitics, the only way to reach a deal is for each side to get something and each side to give something. And that's been very difficult. If it was easy, this wouldn't have been going on for 3.5 years. Understand, the longer these wars go on, the harder they are to end, unfortunately, because one side is always looking for leverage on the other, in this particular case, the Russian side as well. And so I think that's the core of what we're trying to work through here. That's why Zelensky's coming tomorrow. That's why European leaders are coming tomorrow. That's why the president called them from the airplane, spent 2 hours in the middle of the night talking to them. And that's why we've been engaged with them every step of the way, is we are trying to find what can we get to that both sides can agree on. And it's been difficult. This is a hard issue set, but we're dedicating a lot of time to it, and the president deserves credit for dedicating time to it.
And I understand that.
He did not answer the question. That is a very Trumpian style non-answer, except it was more sophisticated and level-headed sounding, but he didn't answer the question.
These negotiations are ongoing, but can you name one thing that President Trump is asking Russia to give up in order to get peace?
Well, I'm not going to disclose those things, because if we do, then you can imagine the negotiations could fall apart. These negotiations, look, I know everybody wants to know what's happening, and to a certain degree that's important. But what's more important is that these negotiations work. And for us to run to the press, like you see these leaks sometimes that are completely inaccurate, and in many cases, sometimes you see leaks out there that undermine the negotiations. Okay, these negotiations, in order for them to be successful, require for us to allow both sides to agree to potential concessions or discuss potential concessions without it finding its way in the public sphere and creating all kinds of internal problems for one country or the other country.
Okay, so this might seem like, oh, it's innocuous, like whatever, he doesn't want to talk about what's going on. But understand that is kind of an answer in that he's not answering it. Because if they got Putin to make any concessions, they would run out and brag about this. Remember that this is a very arrogant administration. President Trump obviously being the leading narcissist of the administration. But the people on his team, they love to brag about all this stuff. They're very good at messaging. They're very good at crafting a narrative. You have to give the Republicans credit for that. They're very good at making sure to brag about any seemingly good thing that they do, whereas Democrats tend to not be so good at bragging about good stuff that they do. So they got nothing from Putin. That's what he's telling you here, because we all know that if he got something good out of it, Trump wants to get nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. They'd be like, we got concessions from Putin. Look at this. No new wars. We're the best. We're the anti-war administration.
Here's the bottom line. We all know what the elements of such a deal. There has to be talk about what the territories are going to look like and what the border lines are going to look like at the end of this conflict. There has to be talk about Ukraine's legitimate desire for security in the long term to make sure they don't get invaded again. There has to be talk about how Ukraine is rebuilt and how do you rebuild a country that's been attacked as often as it has over the last 3.5 years. These are all key elements of any agreement. We understand that. And each side if there's going to be a deal, each side is going to have to give up on something. That's just a fact.
Mr. Secretary, I want to show folks what Ukraine looks like right.
Okay, that's all fine and good, Marco. That's all fine and good. You want to prevent Ukraine from being attacked again. Good. That's a good thing to say. It's better than wanting Ukraine to get attacked again. But you didn't answer the question. You didn't give us any insight. This was, by all accounts, an unproductive meeting. It was Trump bending to Putin, Trump cucking to Putin, as the kids sometimes say. Pretty embarrassing stuff. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and thank you for watching.